Okay, Shalom Aleichem, everyone. Again, we get one more opportunity for this year. I'd like to thank everyone it was a momentous year learning Mishnah Berurah, being Messiah and starting all over. So that was very special. And again, we'll start again this week because of Yom Tovim. We won't have until next Sunday. So Mitzvah Hashem a week from today. Amir Tzar Hashem. Okay, so anyway, so we are on page 26. So last time we were together, we discussed the Mishnah Berurah's opinion of how to wrap ourselves in the talis. We also mentioned Rav Moshe's way, wrapping ourselves in the talis. So again, the idea that the concept is that you have to wrap yourself in a talis. That's the mitzvah. So now, that being true, so that brings us to page 26, Gimel. The small talisim, right? What we call talis katan. I don't know, in America today we call it tzitzis, right? In the talis we call it talis, I don't know. Whatever the vernacular is. The talis katan that we wear, so afapi she'im bahem ituf, so even though you can't wrap yourself in it, right? Still, still, you fulfill the obligation of wearing tzitzis. So if you look at the Mishnah Berurah Vav, so the question is why you yotza? So Mishnah Berurah explains that because all the clothes that we wear, everything we wear, is considered covering the ituf lo ramiza be'oraisa, and to be misatef, right? To wrap yourself is not indicated as a doraisa. So in other words, it's a mitzvah, but in other words, it doesn't blow the mitzvah if you don't do an ituf. As long as you're wearing a four-cornered garment. Now again, that's an important garment. We're going to have to discuss what's considered a garment, and it has four corners. So then, and it has tzitzis on it, so you fulfill the mitzvah. I didn't do an ituf, so no, you still fulfill the mitzvah. Machaber is saying. So again, this gets involved. We'll revisit it, like I said last time, later when we get to Sif Yud Zayin. But the Mishnah Berurah that we discussed, I think last time, Mishnah Berurah Dalet, all the way at the end. The Chavetz Chaim talks about somebody who's not married, right? Whether they wear a talis or not. So again, so the Mishnah Berurah said that a bacher, it's mashma from the Gemara, that a bacher, we did this last time, does not cover his head with the talis, right? Even if he's a Talmid Chacham, they like the Yekis do this. The boys wear talisim after bar mitzvah. They don't cover their head though. Don't cover their head with the talis. So again, but that would be the question. In other words, and that's what we'll see in Yud Zayin. The Chavetz Chaim will discuss this. That let's say you don't go that way, and a bacher does not wear a talis. So then, for whatever amount of time until he gets married, so he's not wearing a talis, so he's not doing an ituf, right? Because he's wearing talis katan, but he's not wearing a talis. So, but look what the Machaber says. So Machaber said that even though you wear a talis katan and they don't have an ituf, but still you fulfill the mitzvah tzitzis. But look what the Machaber says. But it's best to put it around your head. It was when you're putting on the tzitzis in the morning, and turn it around. This is the way I learned it. In other words, instead of a long way coming down, have it sideways, and then ulisatepo, and then wrap yourself in it, right? And as we said before, with the talis, you stay that way, in that position, wrapped. The amount of time it would take you to walk 4 amos, 7-8 feet, I don't know, not that long. And then you take it off your head, and you can wear it the regular way, right? So you could do an ituf. So I remember for those many years I was single, so I did this. So I remember I asked the Reshiva, I was walking with him, so maybe back to, I don't remember if it was back to the house. I remember I asked him, like, should you do this? In other words, because again, if you look, the Machaber says tov. It's tov, not that you have to. So I don't know, would it be like gaiva? If you did it, people see you. You look at the big frummy, like a big tzaddik. So I still remember what the Reshiva Zechatzak told me. He said he didn't remember. I asked him, so did the Reshiva do this? I don't remember. He said he was married for so many years. So we're going to learn later that you don't do this. You only do this if you're not wearing a talis gadol. Wearing a talis, so we'll learn about it again a number of times later. That if you're wearing a talis, so you put on your tzitzis in the morning, you'll make a bracha on it, because you'll make a bracha on the talis gadol, and the talis gadol brachas make an ituf, and you make a liisate b'tzitzis. So you're not going to make a bracha on the talis gadol because it's an extra bracha. So again, for the mitzvah of ituf, if you're married, if you wear a talis, so you do an ituf, right? So I know, it was interesting to me. I didn't have the chutzpah to ask. I was wondering if that was a dodge or he really didn't remember. I don't know. Because he was older when he got married. But anyways, but that was the story, so that's all I could tell you. Okay. Now, very important halacha in Daled. Machtir shtei tzitzios lefanav. You should put the two tzitzis in front of you. Ushtayim la'acharav, and two in the back. Kedei shei misuva b'mitzvos. So you're surrounded with mitzvos. So this is very interesting. So again, we'll get to the Mishnah Berurah, which is a different issue later. But I remember when I came to Yeshiva, I started learning Mishnah Berurah, out of the gate. So Achro sounds like in back, right? So I remember I went up to Rabbi Knirk, who we lost a few months ago, unfortunately. And I remember he's the one you went up to for Mishnah Berurah. I mean, there was other people, but went to the top. So I remember, I had I had it together. In other words, I had the four tzitzis, like this. So I said to Rabbi Knirk, I had them like this. Let's say you can't see it, like that. So I remember I went to Rabbi Knirk and I said, well, I wear them like this. So I remember he took them and he separated. He said, wear them like this. And I remember he said, you don't put the back one not in back. That's not nice. It's off to the side. It's off to the side. Oh, I'm sorry. Right? So I had him like this. You see sometimes see people like. So I remember he moved my tzitzis and he put one like on the side and left him one in front. And I still remember him doing that. It was really interesting. Such an Adam Gadol. He takes it. Right? Normally, tell you, move it there. No, he moved it. He moved it. It wasn't like a lack of covet for him. Like Rod Knirk ever worried about his covet.
People don't wear it out. Does it matter?
We'll get to that. Now, but see, this is interesting because, again, in this shul you don't see it. But, Amal, you see people with those silk talisim, or even not silk talisim. They wear a wool talis, but we discussed this before. They wear it like a shawl. Now again, before we talk about wearing around your neck, not that, right? So before we discussed it in the context of that it's not covering you, right? It doesn't cover the body. So let's say it covers the body, right? But they wear it like a shawl, in other words, and you see sometimes people have all four tzitzis in front, right? So we see here clearly from the halacha that you shouldn't do that, right? I don't know. It's not necessarily saying you have to, put it up on your shoulders. I mean, I think that's just so it doesn't drag on the floor. Sometimes you see a Hasidic Rebbe, they don't, bring it up on their shoulders. They just wear it, But still, Shtayim Lefanav, Shtayim Lacharav, right? So speaking of Rebbes, so the Mishnah Berurah, there's a very interesting Mishnah Berurah. Where'd it go? Mishnah Berurah tests, where the Mishnah Berurah says, "Nagul asas atorah mechatichas meshi l'siman she'oso tzitzis lefanav yula olam lefanav." That there's a custom that we make what is called an atarah. In other words, they take, Mishnah Berurah says, a piece of material, maybe silk material, whatever, and they put it around the top, right? Or around the collar. Well, again, talus doesn't have a collar, but around the collar. So the two tzitzis that are in front of you always are in front of you. Right? So in other words, if you have this thing, this collar, so then you know that that's the collar, right? And therefore, the result is that the tzitzis that are supposed to be in front, those will always be in front, and the other two will always be on the side or in back. And he brings a proof that Chazal say that the planks, they were careful about the crushim that were in the Mishkan, even though they were interchangeable, but still the ones that were in a certain spot, they were always in a certain spot. The ones that were in the north were always in the north, and so on and so forth. But what's very interesting is, then the Chavetz Chaim brings down the Arizal, that the Arizal wasn't makpeh on that. It could be in the front, and then the next day it's in the back. So it's very interesting. You'd think the Hasidim would, go like the Arizal, right? But they're the ones with the fancy ataras, right? Like all that type of stuff. But that's what we have on our. I don't know. You don't very rarely see an Arizal talus without one of those, at least a cloth thingy on it, around the collar. So it's very interesting. We're running out of time, but there's an Aruch HaShulchan. The Aruch HaShulchan says, "Gam yesh noagim lasos atorah shel kesef." Right? Some people make silver ataras, barosh hatalis at the collar of the talus. Ve'eno kedai. It's not worth it. The bezed nira sha'ikar huma sha'ala rosh uve'emes ha'ikar huma sha'ala guf. That makes it look that the main thing of the talus is the collar. After all, it has all that silver, right? But really, what's the most important part of the garment? The part that covers the body. So then he says, to obviate that problem, some people put an atara in the middle. Like some talesim, like my talus now, the new talus. Like a reinforcement. They have a reinforcement. So do you ever see some rebbes have silver on that? Right? So you think, that's just a rebbish thing to do. So according to Aruch HaShulchan, no, it's just to offset the collar. That the collar is not the ikr, it's the body, right? So we beautify that too. So, but then the Aruch HaShulchan says, they do that. But he says, ve'en kedai, right? And the Litvish people don't do it, right? Litvish people, they have just, a cloth thing, and zehu, that's it, right? Chavetz Chaim, the Rishut, one of the Rabbeim had a nice atar, not silver, just had a nice atar. Or Grumla, I think, has one of Shabbos. So you might ask, for yeshivish, why do I have that? Simple answer, very simple answer. It was my grandfather's, or maybe my great-grandfather's. For sure, it was my grandfather's Chaim Shalom. It could have been my great-grandfather's, Shmuel, who was my second name. So I think it was his. He gave it to his son-in-law, my grandfather. And I still remember, I don't know, many years ago, my mother came back, Al Hashem, from New York, and she had it. I remember it laid on a shelf in my room for many, 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 many years. I got married later. I still remember when Debbie and I got engaged. So she bought me a talus. So I said, So I took it out and brought it to New York. The silver was mamish black. I think it was black and green. It was so tarnished, I thought. But she took it and she gave it to somebody, and they made it to what it is now. I wear it because my mother gave it to me from my grandfather.
It was Hasidic.
Yeah, I don't want this to be on the record. Yeah, both of my grandfathers the story that I'm going to say. Both of my grandfathers were Hasidic. I don't know what the Pittsburgh Rebbe was over my house a couple times. So he saw a picture of my grandfather and he turned to his Hasidim and he said, oh, his Zayda was this type of Hasid. I forgot what he said. He could tell by looking at him. I forgot what he said. A number of years ago. Yeah. That's from my father's side. My grandfather Yitzchak. That's Keva today. And my mother's father, Chaim Shalom, is also a Chassid. I have his siddur as a Sfard. I'll tell you the story after we do. Okay, so that's it for today. And for this year, everybody has a good Gemben Shor, Ksivuk Ksivuk Tova, Malta Chaim Tov Shalom. And Meretz Hashem will pick this up next Sunday before Mincha, Meretz Hashem. Yashkach, everyone.